The lesson plan for back to school. The countdown is on across Ontario. What can students, teachers, and families prepare themselves for after years of disruptions? Have lessons been learned? Good evening. Hard to believe it's nearly that moment. At this time next week, we'll be just hours away from kids packing their bags.
They've also been packing their patience over the last few years. Whether labor or a pandemic, there have been no shortage of disruptions. So what's on the agenda this time around? CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with her top story. Siobhan.
Well, Nathan, we know there's been a lot of learning lost through the pandemic, and standardized test scores have been slipping. The government is out with a collection of changes to curriculum that they hope will help turn things around. A greeting in cursive, a sign of the revamped learning plan for kids in Ontario schools. The government says it's putting a new focus on the basics: writing, reading, and math.
Supported by over $700 million, nearly $700 million more in base funding, as well as a $109 million investment in literacy and the hiring of 2,000 additional educators.
That includes doubling the number of math coaches, dedicating 30 minutes to reading instruction every day, a greater focus on phonics and digital literacy, a digital tech class in grade 10, and mental health education. Some education advocates feel this focus on reading, writing, and math is too narrow and leaves out other key skills.
Learning to collaborate, learning to communicate effectively in multiple ways, learning to be a good critical problem solver, to understand other people's perspectives.
The government and Union for Public High School Teachers have agreed to move to binding arbitration if they can't negotiate a contract by October 27th.
We've asked our remaining teacher unions to meet with the government to reach a similar review agreement to sign this deal that will keep our kids in school.
Those other unions are taking a pass.
There's some very substantive issues that need to be reached before we can move to sort of an end stage.
OWECTA is still waiting for hiring promised during the pandemic to come through, so they don't know that a pledge for more educators now will help much.
If the foundation of a house fell through and you had no floor and the front door caved in while that happened, and you would replace the front door and it would look really nice, but when you walk in the door, you're still going to fall through to the foundation.
Ontario won't follow New Brunswick and Saskatchewan, forcing schools to disclose when a student has changed their gender identity at school, even if it's against the child's wishes. The minister says schools need to be safe spaces, but
we can have situations where information is being withheld from a parent. We think that transparency is a strength.
Advocates explain children's rights need to be respected.
You may have a parent or a set of parents who are extremely homophobic, extremely transphobic.
Lecce says schools should be supporting parents to have difficult discussions with their kids. Well, in terms of other things that are new this year, the government's also requiring that school boards make obvious on their website exactly what teachers are learning on professional development days. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Siobhan. And our coverage of this story continues online. Everything families need to know in anticipation of next week. You can find those details at ctvnewstoronto.ca and download the CTV News app.
Straight ahead, back in the spotlight and back on the air. John Tory reemerges, the former mayor talking to the city in a different way. Well, no shortage of sunshine to start the week, and there is lots more to come. A beautiful view this hour of the lake. We're being gifted with great summer weather on these final days of August. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay, it'll be September by the end of this week. Glad we can say goodbye to August with a bit of warmth and sunshine.
And it's interesting, Michelle, because this month hasn't brought us a whole lot of heat, but by the beginning of September, we are going to be tapping into some real warmth. And on these final days of August, we cannot ask for much more than this. Very comfortable this hour, 22 degrees in Toronto. We do have winds coming from a southeasterly direction, providing a real nice breeze. We've got wall-to-wall sunshine just about everywhere in southern Ontario. I do want to mention that sunset time tonight is 8 p.m., so the days are getting a little bit shorter, but what a pleasant evening it's going to be. And then overnight, we eventually drop to a low near 12. That's a little cool for this time of year. That will, again, be the appropriate pattern as we make our way through to the end of this month. But as mentioned, some heat is coming. We'll show you when. That's ahead in your weather forecast. For now, though, Nathan, I'm going to send it over to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Some serious firepower off the streets. Take a look. These guns seized by Toronto police and just where they were found might shock you. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live with more. Beth.
Toronto police say hotel staff in this case were brave, and the seizure of these guns will save lives. 28 handguns, all seized from the same North York hotel room near York Mills and Don Mills. Some traced to the southern United States.
These guns were 100% destined for our streets in Toronto.
Police say last Monday, cleaning staff at the hotel found 3 guns. They reported it to police, who then found 25 more guns in the room. Officers have arrested a 30-year-old man from Ottawa, charging him with 136 offenses.
We cannot do our job without the public's assistance, and this is a perfect example of that assistance.
Shootings this summer have led to tragedy. Caroline Hubner-Macarat, a wife and mother, out for lunch on Queen Street East, was hit by a stray bullet. Just a few weeks later, Mohammed Ahmed, the brother of Mustafa the poet, an internationally recognized artist, was killed downtown inside a car. Yet the number of shootings in Toronto are trending down. This year so far, 213, the lowest number within the past 5 years. Also down, the number of people injured or killed by gun violence. 28 people lost their lives at this point last year. So far in 2023, 18. We're starting to see the benefits of this work.
Definitely.
Louis March is with the Zero Gun Violence movement. Happening alongside the high-profile killings, he says the decline in shootings is linked to police making a series of drug and gun busts over the last 15 months.
So something's working, and taking illegal guns off the street is one of the major contributing factors.
March says 90% of guns found at crime scenes are smuggled across the border. And while police are doing a better job putting the pieces together between the guns entering the country and the community, more coordination is needed to interrupt the flow, because the border cannot be sealed.
The people using the guns are not the people that are bringing them across the border. So there's another middleman in there that we should be focusing on.
Police didn't say if the accused in this case was working alone or not, as the investigation is ongoing. The accused is facing a range of charges, including possessing a prohibited or restricted firearm without a license and also failing to comply with a release order. Reporting live outside Toronto Police Headquarters, I'm Beth McDonnell. Back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Beth. Meanwhile, in Brampton, Peel police are investigating what they're calling a targeted shooting. This happened at a home in the area of Steeles and Mavis. We're told the victim is now stable in hospital, and officers don't believe there's any risk to the community. And also in Brampton, a stabbing has sent one person to hospital. The violence breaking out this morning near Queen and Kennedy. The victim's injuries are said to be serious. Police will provide an update tomorrow on the investigation into a Mississauga man accused of selling potentially legal substances to people at risk of suicide. Kenneth Law is charged with 2 counts of counseling or aiding suicide. He's alleged to have sold products that can be used for self-harm online, including sodium nitrite. It can be used as a meat preservative, but even small amounts can be deadly. He has denied any wrongdoing. A news conference has been scheduled for tomorrow morning at Peel Police Headquarters. A few tense moments in the downtown core this afternoon, with Toronto police looking into a suspicious package in the area of Union Station. There were some brief detours and diversions, but things are back to normal.
A coroner's inquest is now underway into the death of a disabled teen.
Samuel Brown, who was born with a genetic condition that left him blind and deaf, attended a school in Brantford and was 18 years old when he died. CTV's Hannah Schmidt reports.
Samuel Brown was born with a genetic condition that left him blind, deaf, and nonverbal. He died in 2018 at the age of 18 while attending the W. Ross McDonald School for the Blind in Brantford. The inquest is expected to examine the circumstances around Brown's death, and a jury could make recommendations aimed at preventing further deaths. When introducing the case to the jury on Monday, inquest counsel Maria Stevens saying, on February 8, 2018, Mrs. Brown received a call from the school telling her Samuel was ill, and that was the evening before he ultimately died. She then received a call on the morning of February 9th. The next morning telling her Samuel was taken to hospital by ambulance, and she would not ultimately end up seeing her son alive again. Samuel's mother was the first witness on Monday. Andrea Brown telling the jury she made it known to the school ahead of time her son had aspiration pneumonia, which affected his ability to swallow, increasing his risk of getting food and liquids in his airway. Brown says the investigating coroner produced a report saying their son had died of natural causes, with a follow-up autopsy report concluding he had died of pneumonia. That's correct, Andrea responded when asked about Samuel experiencing aspiration pneumonia before going to the school. How often had that happened prior to his admission, do you recall? Stevens asked. I only recall once, Brown replied. Stevens says Samuel was reported to be in good health by staff members at the school, but by February 8th, Samuel appeared to be struggling with congestion and had developed a fever. By 6 a.m., he was unresponsive, prompting the call to 911. The Brown family hopeful the inquest will clear up the conflicting medical opinions and provide them with more answers surrounding Samuel's death. Hannah Schmidt, CTV News.
Coming up, the dangers lurking on the dark web. What experts fear could be at risk across Canada, and the countries considered to be safe havens for these criminal operations. Former Mayor John Tory is back in the spotlight.
On the radio for 4 hours as a guest host on News Talk 1010. CTV's Natalie Johnson's at City Hall tonight. Natalie, this is Tory's first big appearance since stepping down as mayor.
Yeah, Nathan, Tory has kept a very low profile since he walked away from this building 6 months ago. He spoke very little about himself on the air today, but he did chat afterwards about his decision to resign and what lies ahead. Up before the sun and most of the city.
Morning.
John Tory was back in the public eye this morning, back on the radio.
5:32, and it's John Tory sitting in here for John Moore.
Filling in as guest host on News Talk 1010.
Sunny today, turning to a mix of sun and cloud this afternoon. Fog patches dissipating this morning with a high of 23 today.
Tory hosted the afternoon show here for 5 years before becoming Toronto's mayor.
When you're away from something for 9 years, you are a little bit nervous.
Today's comeback, his first major public appearance since stepping down as mayor, following an affair with his staffer. Do you miss City Hall?
Oh, of course I do. I mean, I gave 8 years of my life. I tried my best to do the right thing. I tried my best to manage us through the biggest crisis the city's ever faced. And, you know, you make mistakes, both personally and otherwise, but you have to sort of say you did your best.
First text telling John Moore to take a few more days off because I like you. There you go.
Despite public polling that indicated strong support for Tory even after his scandal.
Surprisingly, the texts are all positive.
Tory tells CTV News that he doesn't regret resigning.
I did the right thing to set an example, to reduce the strain on all of those involved, and I am very heartwarmed by the fact that as I go about being on the streets or on the subway or anywhere I am, people are encouraging of the job that was done.
Hey, Mayor, good morning. Well, I'm not the mayor anymore, but that's okay. I'll take it for 1 second.
Wishing success to his successor.
I used to say not left, not right, but forward, and that's what we all want.
With no plans to rerun for public office.
I'm now a private citizen, albeit that I do some things that have some public aspect or some public contribution. And, you know, I will go forward to live my life and to try and spend more time, as I said I was going to do, with my family, which I'm doing, and to make it up to those who, you know, had some consequence of what happened with me.
I'm not in the business of trying to run for anything, stay in any office anymore.
Saying he'll continue to contribute to Toronto from beyond City Hall.
More of the magic of you talking coming up after 5:30.
Maybe even through a return to radio. Now, the John Tory chapter here at City Hall isn't completely closed just yet. The Integrity Commissioner confirmed today that his investigation into the former mayor's relationship with a staffer is still underway. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. And both News Talk 1010 and CTV News are divisions of Bell Media. The TTC is increasing service for the fall. Mayor Olivia Chow in Scarborough taking part in the announcement.
2 days before school start, we are increasing transit service. We have a plan that would have services increase right across the city, especially here in Scarborough. What does that mean? It means that students heading back to elementary and secondary school, they are going to get more frequent bus services, 126 trips to of routes serving schools.
Chow says there will also be more frequent service for university and college students. There will be 9 extra bus routes serving places such as U of T, Centennial College, and Humber College. The TTC is also adding service to routes where demand is over capacity.
Weekly boardings now on the TTC are 80% of pre-COVID levels when compared to the summer of 18. Ridership among less frequent customers, and those are those that use the TTC fewer than 4 days per week, stands at 118% of pre-pandemic levels. So people are taking the TTC on the weekends into sporting events, into concerts, which is nice to see.
Officials say in September, service will increase to 93% of the pre-pandemic level. And by November, they expect to see improvement on 22 existing bus routes. Meanwhile, it's been a day of headaches for some people trying to use the TTC's payment systems. Presto vending machines out of service for much of the day. Riders also unable to use credit or debit to purchase a Presto fare or add value to their accounts. The check balance function on Presto cards unavailable too. The TTC says all systems are now working properly. Metro is seeking an injunction against its striking workers. The grocery retailer wants workers to stop picketing outside its GTA distribution facilities. They say it's preventing deliveries to stores. Workers started demonstrating outside 2 of the company's warehouses last Wednesday. The bid for an injunction comes during the 5th week of a strike by more than 3,700 workers at 27 Metro stores in the GTA.
The company's in court today trying to get an injunction, and we're just down here demonstrating, trying to do secondary picketing in order to convince anybody. This is just another example of a corporation trying to put the hammer to workers that barely make minimum wage, and we're here just to tell people that, you know what, this can't continue. We can't let corporations put the muscle on workers, and we just want some justice.
The union says it's waiting for a better wage offer before it resumes negotiations. In Montreal, the investigation into a deadly fire last March is now a criminal investigation.
Today, following several analysis results collected to date, the SPVM's Arson and Explosives Unit is able to confirm that the accidental cause has now been ruled out. We are now talking about a criminal investigation. Our investigators have identified an area where the fire started, and I can confirm that traces of accelerant were found, which may help explain the speed at which the blaze spread, combined with the building's heritage structure.
7 people were killed when the blaze erupted in a heritage building in Old Montreal. Inspectors had reported several fire code violations during visits in the years leading up to the fire in the building. In the Northwest Territories, officials in Hay River spoke today as a wildfire burns 1.5 kilometers from the center of town.
We're not in the evacuation process right now. Like I said, we are fighting this fire that is literally on our doorstep. So I know that both the 2 Coast Guard boats are offshore and they have anchored out in the harbor, so the Dumit and the Ekaloo. And the Edgar K is at the dock. So, and I know they are trying to support people who, they're a little more scared.
About 200 firefighters are battling the blaze on another very hot day with temperatures reaching up to 32 degrees. The dry conditions may cause significant fire activity and push the flames to the north and the east, but the winds are lighter. No new structures were lost yesterday thanks to the work of firefighters. Rising temperatures today were also expected to increase fire behavior near Yellowknife. In BC's Okanagan Valley, operations are transitioning to recovery following weeks of wildfire activity.
We know waiting for the status of your property has been very stressful. And it was really important that we shared what we knew when we knew it. We knew this would probably be a 2-step process, and we were right. Please know that everyone involved, including the wonderful people I've had the privilege of working at the EOC. They're working as hard as they can to get you as much information, get you home as quickly as possible.
The number of properties around Lake Okanagan destroyed or suffering significant wildfire damage has increased to 189. That's up from 181. All of the newly assessed properties are in West Kelowna or a nearby rural area. The McDougall Creek fire is still burning out of control, but it's no longer in the city, now burning in the hills above. Tropical storm Adele is strengthening as it nears the western tip of Cuba, and the threat of storm surge and dangerous winds is becoming increasingly likely for parts of Florida.
This is going to be a major impact, and Floridians should expect that this storm will be a major Cat 3+ hurricane.
Preparations are underway as Adele is expected to make landfall along Florida's Gulf Coast on Wednesday. A hurricane warning was issued today from Longboat Key in the Sarasota area to the Holocene River up past Tampa Bay. One county north of the city has ordered a mandatory evacuation for low-lying areas. Adele would be the first storm to hit Florida this hurricane season. Meanwhile, Franklin has been moving north since hitting the Dominican Republic last week. It strengthened into a Category 4 hurricane today. The storm is forecast to turn away from the U.S. eastern seaboard early this week, but pass near the island of Bermuda on Wednesday. The Canadian Hurricane Center says Franklin is no longer expected to have much impact on land in parts of southeastern Newfoundland this week. It's tracking further south and more slowly than originally predicted, taking it further away.
Cybercrime is on the rise with a potentially devastating impact for Canada's economy, national security, and critical infrastructure.
A new report warning cyber attacks will almost certainly target Canadian organizations. CTV's Kevin Gallagher reports.
From oil and gas pipelines to hospitals and even Canada's financial system, all are being targeted by cyber criminals at an increasing rate.
That can have devastating impacts on our daily lives.
In a new report, the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity warns critical infrastructure like nuclear power plants and telecommunication systems are at high risk of being targeted by cyber criminals over the next 2 years. Iran and to a greater extent Russia are being accused by the centre of granting these criminals safe haven as long as they target Western countries.
They operate with near impunity over there because for as long as they don't target, Russian citizen and the Russian regime, the Russian will turn a blind eye.
Ransomware is the most disruptive, according to the report, having a major financial impact for companies and society as hackers block access to sensitive systems until those companies pay up.
We've seen municipalities get crippled, unable to provide services to citizens, and we've seen food supply get impacted as well.
Over the past year, book retailer Indigo, Suncor Energy, and even Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children have been victims of ransomware attacks. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre says last year cybercriminals caused $530 million in losses, and that number is likely much higher.
Cybercrime, and especially ransomware, is significantly underreported. And we want companies and Canadian businesses to reach out to us when they fall victim of one of those. We want to help them.
The federal government is working on new legislation aimed at improving cyber attack reporting and requiring companies to adopt certain security measures. First introduced more than a year ago, it's not clear when the bill will become law. Kevin Gallagher, CTV News, Ottawa.
Donald Trump will appeal the trial date in a case filed against him in Washington, D.C. A judge set a date of March 4th today. The former U.S. president has been charged with attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. A defense request to push back the case to 2026 was rejected. It is one of 4 criminal prosecutions Trump faces. Meanwhile, Trump and 18 other people facing similar accusations in Georgia are scheduled to be arraigned next Wednesday. They will be able to enter pleas. Well, the problem has been fixed, but not before having a significant global impact. The UK's air traffic control system says a technical issue that caused heavy delays and cancellations has been resolved. Flight plans had to be inputted manually for several hours today, and that meant thousands of air travelers faced delays. Monday is a holiday for many in the UK and a date when many families return from vacations before the start of the school year.
Back here at home, local baseball fans are certainly hoping the Blue Jays take flight, but time is running out. in the hunt for a spot in the postseason.
And the team, anything but consistent at the moment. CTV's Raheem Ladani is live outside the Dome tonight with more. Raheem.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, good evening. The Jays are in the midst of a prolonged losing skid with 31 regular season games to play. But that certainly hasn't stopped a big crowd from showing here tonight. You can feel the energy right around the city. And they're all hoping that the Jays can get back to their winning ways. Summertime in Toronto attracts plenty of tourists.
We're from Manitoba, just south of Winnipeg.
And they're all eager for the same reason.
We're going to the Jays game tonight. We went till yesterday's game. We're here till Wednesday. We'll see all 4 games.
A sea of blue jerseys shows the level of support this team has, with fans hoping they can start taking a bite out of the competition.
Watching on TV, it's like, what are they doing? Because they need to win games if they want to make the playoffs.
There's a ball driven. Deep left field. Varsho will wave goodbye.
The Blue Jays have only won twice in their last 6 outings and are 2.5 games out of a wild card spot.
It's never a guarantee to make the playoffs, but, it's more Toronto Maple Leafs-esque than anything.
The Jays are slowly seeing their postseason hopes drain away.
The last couple of years, I got really into the Jays and cheering them on, but it's kind of disappointing they're not winning lately.
And with Bo Bichette struggling with quad tightness, Matt Chapman nursing finger inflammation, and pitcher Eric Swanson dealing with a bad back, fans are wondering if the team's offense will get back on track.
I don't understand. They're professionals. They should be hitting the ball a little better.
But not everyone is down on the boys of summer.
They're going to do what they're going to do, and we're going to be back next year loving them the same way.
With many fans just looking forward to the experience.
I've been kind of interested in baseball watching on TV, so I'm kind of happy for tonight it'll be live.
And hopefully see some home runs leave the Dome. Now, there is some good news for the Toronto Blue Jays, and that's that their next 12 games are all against teams who have a record worse than theirs, and that begins with a series against the Washington Nationals this evening. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Well, that is good to hear. Thank you, Raheem. Coming up, Toronto FC's got a new head coach, and it's a familiar face. John Herdman moves on from Canada's men's team to take on an all-new challenge.
I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, many of us check online reviews before we buy a product or service, but it's estimated more than 30% of all online reviews are fake. How can you tell the real ones from the ones trying to deceive you? I'll have my reports. That's just ahead.
Well, right now, Hurricane Franklin looks especially impressive from outer space. This Category 4 storm, as mentioned, not expected to have a big impact on land. That's good news because it was veering a little north toward Atlantic Canada. On the other hand, though, Tropical Storm Adele, this is a different story. Expected to likely strengthen into a hurricane as early as this evening as it moves over the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Florida's Big Bend between Tallahassee and Tampa of major concern with storm surge and flooding a possibility. We're going to keep an eye on this one over the next couple of days as landfall approaches Wednesday morning. Here at home, the weather much calmer, quieter, maybe a little cool in the short range. Your forecast is coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
To try and save money and get a dependable product or service, many of us turn to online reviews before making a purchasing decision.
And while many people find customer reviews on the internet helpful, you should know many you read are fake. Pat Foran explains on Consumer Alert.
Online reviews can make or break a product, so it's not surprising companies are seeking positive reviews or in some cases even making them up. There are some things you can do to find out which ones are authentic and which ones are not.
The reviews that I had relied on in selecting a medical provider were fake. I just don't trust reviews anymore.
CTV News has interviewed Kay Dean before. She created Fake Review Watch and has her own YouTube channel and website to create awareness and fight back against fake online reviews.
And it's a huge problem because consumer experiences aren't matching those reviews.
In fact, research from FakeSpot found that 42% of Amazon's reviews are not real. How can you know?
One major sign that something fishy might be going on is when you see a bunch of very positive reviews all posted on the same day. Fake reviews can be grouped together like this, so it's better to skip them.
Another red flag is when you see similar wording or phrasing in multiple reviews, several reviews from different users that have the same "wow, this product changed my life" may not be real.
Anyone is allowed to leave reviews on Amazon, even if they didn't buy the product. So look for reviews that have the verified purchase tag. This means that the reviewer actually bought the product on Amazon.
Look, this one has good reviews.
It might also help you to look at other reviews from the same user. Click on their profile, and if you see a pattern of 5 stars in similar language, those reviews may be fake or even paid. And if you're still not sure, check FakeSpot, which uses an algorithm to evaluate the quality of customer reviews. Paste a product URL into their analyzer and let your good judgment decide. There have been calls for stricter guidelines that would prohibit the creation, purchase, or sale of fake reviews to stop unfair and deceptive practices. Until that happens, you may want to treat online reviews with a dose of skepticism and realize what you're reading may not be true. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
New students at Toronto Metropolitan University began their post-secondary careers by setting a world record. The students set a record for the world's loudest scream. It was the latest record attempt to continue an orientation tradition at the university.
Every year for the past 15 or so years, we have wanted to break a world record with the incoming class. Some years we do, some years we don't. And we're lucky that this year we did break the world record and achieved 130 decibels as a group. So we do this every year as an opportunity to unite our incoming student community.
In addition to the world record attempt, the first day of orientation for new students also featured a concert on the TMU campus. The university says more than 1,000 students will be living in its 3 residence buildings this year. And you know what that makes me think of? Good thing they didn't recruit our Nathan Downer to take part in that screaming world record attempt, because Nathan has lost his voice a little bit today.
Right, I'm battling a cold. I've got a sore throat. I don't have COVID.
Yeah.
And I was okay earlier today, but it's just gotten worse. So we're going to grind and get through this. My apologies.
I promise you, he had a voice not even like 33 minutes ago,
Yep.
and then it just read. Every once in a while, kids will ask us, what happens if you do the news and you lose your voice? Well,
Here's it, you know, hey,
this is what
I know better than anybody, anything can happen on live TV. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Gonna get through this.
Nathan, you're doing great, honestly. You're hanging in there, and we're here for you. I know Michelle's carrying a bit of the extra load
No
tonight.
problem. Don't worry.
And I'll take it from here. I'll go do the weather forecast and give you a couple minutes break. It is a beautiful forecast that I'm very excited to talk about as we finish off what for many kids is the final week of summer vacation. I think you're going to like what's in store over the next couple of days as well. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. A very comfortable day today. We had sunshine. Temperature was around 22, 23 degrees around the GTA. Humidex values around 24, 25. Just lovely for this time of year. Our average, our seasonal norm is 24 degrees, and so we're pretty close to where we expect to be at this time of year. Yesterday we were 22.6 degrees. Tonight it's going to be a little bit cool in some areas. This is worth mentioning. How about 7 degrees for the low in Peterborough? Maybe only 4 in Bancroft, 8 degrees for you in London. We'll be closer to about 12 in the city of Toronto. And then tomorrow the temperature is going to rebound quite nicely. Sunny, seasonal, great day to head to the CNE and enjoy the midway. Just don't forget your sunscreen. UV index of 7 for tomorrow. That's still high. And of course, we can't forget about that at this time of year. Now, when it comes to active weather, we're pretty quiet this week. And it's been a while since we've been able to string together multiple days of sunshine. There is an exception. We have a disturbance that's going to move through. This is going to impact most of us while we're sleeping through the overnight hours, but there's a late evening Tuesday. You can see a line of showers starting to move in for us. Again, this is mainly as we move past the midnight hour, heading into Wednesday morning. It is possible that there will be a little bit of leftover cloud, maybe some lingering showers, but that clears out as we make our way into Wednesday afternoon. And then, are you ready for some heat? It looks like it's going to come for the early part of September, which of course is later this week, and this upcoming weekend is the Labor Day long weekend. Lots of sunshine in store, temperature up around 28 degrees for Saturday and possibly even 30 by Sunday. That's your look at the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, also tonight, the ultimate moment for a Keith Urban fan who happens to have a killer set of pipes. What happened when the superstar shared the mic at a show in New Brunswick?
If you or someone you love lives with chronic pain, managing it is a major challenge.
But a new program from Women's College Hospital is promising to make things easier. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
When Emeralda Burke was hit by a vehicle 9 years ago, she suffered injuries from head to foot.
So I fractured my neck, all of my thoracic spine, my pelvis, shoulder, brain injury, a lot of things.
And despite numerous surgeries, medications, and physiotherapies, she still suffers a lot of pain, to the point where she says managing that pain is like a full-time job.
It's exhausting firstly, so you can wake up in the morning and you just are not able to actually function because of the pain and the weight of everything. But then even if you are, it's like I have ongoing pain throughout the day. So it's just taking up so much energy in my body.
But for the past 8 months, a new pain management portal, co-created by Women's College Hospital, has been making a world of difference for Emeralda.
We have access to an adult portal and a youth portal. It's one piece of the puzzle to enhance access to pain care. And so we really saw a need. Wait times are long to access certain services.
Nearly 8 million Canadians live with chronic pain, and wait lists for specialized pain programs are often 2 years or more. The new Power Over Pain portal offers information and resources to help patients manage their own pain.
Conditions can include, multiple sclerosis related pain, nerve injury related pain. So you can also think post-stroke or trauma, brain trauma related pain. But then you can also think of common conditions such as fibromyalgia or arthritis related pains.
Like I wouldn't be able to work, I wouldn't be able to walk my dog, I wouldn't be able to go for coffee with my friends, without any of the self-management resources. It's just changed my life.
The Power Over Pain portal is free to anyone, and eventually they hope to develop resources to deal with specific illnesses. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
In Las Vegas, Adele halted her show Saturday to scold a security guard.
Yes, him. What are you doing? Why are you out bothering him? Can you leave him alone, please? Leave him alone.
The singer stopped the music mid-song and asked what was going on in the audience with a certain fan who had been standing. She then asked the security guard why they are bothering him, asking they leave him alone. Adele then told the man that he won't be bothered again and to enjoy the show. Keith Urban is one of the biggest names in the music industry, but it was someone else who arguably stole the show this past weekend in the Maritimes, the country superstar handing the mic off to a talented fan.
Here's CTV's Paul Hollingsworth with more.
Jeff Broussard traveled to the YQM Country Festival in Dieppe, New Brunswick to see Keith Urban.
It was the first time for me to see him live, and he's a superstar. He's amazing.
Broussard's girlfriend made this sign asking if her boyfriend could sing with the country music legend. At first, Broussard wanted no part of it.
This is not going to go. He's not going to see you, so I just brushed it off.
Urban saw the sign, and a magical moment unfolded.
Oh, this is happening. This is happening right now.
Sing the chorus. I want to feel the shine.
The crowd went wild. Broussard sang his heart out. Urban seemed surprised and clearly pleased by the performance.
Somebody who's done it for so long and played in, such a huge stage in front of so many people and kind of smiles hearing me sing. It's just a cool experience.
Broussard's talent is undeniable. He sings in a band called Homegrown, performing in downtown Halifax.
At the Lower Deck all week this week with the group.
With any luck, he'll be able to build on his newfound fame. He already made some new fans at YQM.
They wanted my autograph and stuff. I'm like, I'm good. I'm all right. Everything's good.
Broussard says it just goes to show something exciting can happen to anyone on any given day. He loved every second of this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News.
Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy. Who's better? Nobody.
We have a modern curriculum with new financial literacy resources, a new literacy curriculum that follows the precise advice of the Ontario Human Rights Commission.
Updating our top stories, the province outlined its new curriculum today ahead of the upcoming school year. It says it's renewing focus on the basics, reading, writing, and math. The unveiling comes amid uncertainty about the possibility of teacher strikes as unions continue to bargain with the province.
These guns were 100% destined for our streets in Toronto, and as a result of this seizure, they cannot be used to take someone else's life.
A 30-year-old Ottawa man is facing more than 100 charges after 28 handguns were seized from a North York hotel room. Investigators are working to figure out where the guns came from and say some have been linked to the southern U.S.
I tried my best to do the right thing. I tried my best to manage us through the biggest crisis the city's ever faced. And, you make mistakes, both personally and otherwise, but you have to sort of say you did your best.
John Tory filled in on News Talk 1010 this morning in his first major public appearance since resigning as mayor following an affair with a staff member. Tory says he has no plans to return to public office, despite polling indicating strong support even after his scandal. On the markets, the Canadian dollar up slightly to 73.52 U.S. American benchmark oil adding 27 cents, closing at 80.10 U.S. a barrel. And the TSX Composite Index gaining 189 points, ending the day at 20,023. John Herdman is leaving his job as head coach of the men's national soccer team to join Toronto FC. Herdman is signing a multi-year deal and will officially take over the job in October. The 48-year-old has served as Canada's men's head coach since 2018 after 7 years as head coach of the women's national team. The men's team reached its second ever World Cup under Herdman and rose to its highest ever FIFA ranking of 33 last year. TFC is currently last in MLS with just 3 wins in 26 matches. 2 Canadians are in action at the U.S. Open tennis tournament gets underway in New York City.
15 love.
Montreal's Felix Auger-Aliassime is facing American Mackenzie McDonald in first-round action right now. Meanwhile, this evening, Thornhill's Milos Raonic will be in tough against 7th seed Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are adding some size to their blue line. Simon Benoit has been signed to a 1-year contract worth $775,000. The Laval, Quebec native spent 3 seasons with the Anaheim Ducks. The 6'3" rear guard led the club in hits last season with 216. That's more than 100 more than his next closest teammate. And staying on the ice, Collingwood is at the center of a special gathering of young players. CTV's Ian Duffy reports.
While many are still trying to soak up time on the dock, 8 junior hockey teams from Timmins to Buffalo are hitting the ice in Collingwood for the Cottage Cup, a summer showcase that benefits the teams and the local economy.
It's a beautiful part of Ontario. There's, especially when you get into this month here in August. So you can come catch some games, but then, hit the golf course or hit the trails.
Resorts and accommodations we've picked out for them. They're going to be eating in our local restaurants. They're going to be enjoying some of our local craft beers, being more the parents than the players. But, it all leads to a very good experience for people.
For the players on the ice, this preseason tournament is a great chance to showcase their game for OHL scouts and potential scholarship opportunities.
Every time they step on the ice is a showcase. In fact, all of these games are available online. And with today's technology, any scout can go back and watch any game, any shift.
The 3-day tournament, which hopes to eventually bring in the best junior A teams from across Canada, is attractive because it allows coaches and scouts to see a lot of players in a short amount of time under one roof.
It's a massive opportunity. We've had great success with some of our own players in Collingwood getting identified in this tournament and offers from this tournament.
And this year, a junior team from Germany has joined the action, giving them a chance for North American exposure and displaying how the game continues to grow around the world.
Having opportunities to play international teams like the German team coming in will help these players improve their game. It'll also give the Germans an insight into what North American development streams are
The German under-20 team from Mannheim, who is doing a tour playing different junior teams across Ontario, will play their first game here at the Eddie Bush Memorial Arena tomorrow, with the Cottage Cup wrapping up on Wednesday. Ian Duffy, CTV News, Collingwood.
Tonight, pain at the pumps as gas prices hit record highs in some parts of the country.
It adds up, but, have to keep paying for it.
What you can expect in the lead up to the long weekend later on CTV National News.
4 new crew members of the International Space Station are probably still getting used to their out-of-this-world surroundings. A NASA astronaut boarded the orbiting outpost over the weekend, along with crew members from Denmark, Japan, and Russia. It was the first U.S. launch where every seat was occupied by a different country. Until now, NASA had always included 2 or 3 of its own on its SpaceX taxi flights. The 4 are scheduled to be on the space station for the next 6 months.
Very nice. All right, we got through it. One last look at the forecast.
Okay, I'll take it away again. A gorgeous night tonight. Beautiful start to the day tomorrow. This is what you're waking up to. Temperature around 15 degrees at 8 a.m., mainly sunny skies. And as we make our way through the day, you can expect a pretty nice day overall as well. Lots of sunshine, great for the kids off to camp. And then here is the 7-day forecast. I'm pretty pleased with how the final days of August and first few days of September are shaping up. Michelle and Nathan.
Looks gorgeous. Thank you, Lindsay. We'll be sure to join Vashi Capellos tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30. And in the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.